This is where authentic living begins. Why does this matter? Because dependency on others for your emotional and spiritual well-being keeps you weak. When your happiness depends on someone else's mood, when your confidence depends on someone else's words, when your direction depends on someone else's approval, you're living a borrowed life. But when you learn to stand alone with God, you develop an unshakable foundation that no storm can destroy. How do you embrace this solitude? First, you stop running from the quiet moments. Instead of filling every silence with noise or distraction, you sit with it. You listen, you pray, you reflect. Second, you start having honest conversations with yourself about who you really are and what you really want. Third, you begin to see challenges not as punishments, but as strengthening exercises designed to build your character. I knew a man who lost everything in 1 year. His business failed, his wife left him, his friends disappeared when the money ran out. For months, he sat in his empty apartment feeling sorry for himself. But then something shifted. He realized that all those years, he had been trying to be what others wanted him to be. In his solitude, he discovered his true calling. He started small, helping elderly neighbors with their groceries, reading to children at the local library. Slowly, he built a life of service that brought him more fulfillment than all his previous success combined. Today, he runs an organization that helps people in crisis, and he'll tell you that his greatest breakthrough came when he learned to be alone without being lonely. This is your invitation to embrace the power of standing alone with God. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you, validate you, or complete you. You are already whole. You already have everything you need within you. When you truly understand this, when you can stand in complete solitude and feel peace instead of panic, that's when you become truly powerful. That's when you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the author of your own story. 2. Faith when hope seems gone. There comes a moment in every person's life when the bottom falls out, when everything you thought was secure crumbles beneath your feet, when every door you knock on remains closed, when every prayer you send up seems to bounce off the ceiling. This is the moment when most people give up, but this is also the moment when faith becomes most powerful. Faith when hope seems gone isn't about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about putting on a happy face when your heart is breaking. Real faith is the ability to keep walking when you can't see the path. It's the decision to plant seeds in winter, trusting that spring will come. It's the courage to believe in a better tomorrow when today feels impossible. The what is this? Faith without evidence becomes your superpower. When you can believe in breakthrough when all you see is breakdown, when you can trust in provision when all you see is lack, when you can hold on to hope when all you feel is despair, you tap into a strength that's beyond human understanding. This kind of faith doesn't come from positive thinking or wishful hoping. It comes from knowing that there's a power greater than your circumstances working on your behalf. Why is this kind of faith essential? Because life will test you. Not might test you, will test you. And in those testing moments, your faith isn't just about getting through the difficulty. It's about who you become in the process. When you learn to trust God in the dark, you develop a resilience that can't be shaken. When you learn to find peace in the storm, you discover a strength that surprises even you. How do you develop this unshakable faith? First, you stop measuring God's love by your circumstances. Just because things are hard doesn't mean you're forgotten. Sometimes the greatest growth happens in the greatest pressure. Second, you start looking for the lessons in every situation. Every setback contains a setup for something greater. Third, you begin to see delays not as denials, but as preparation time. I remember a woman who spent 3 years caring for her sick mother while watching her own dreams slip away. Her friends were advancing in their careers while she changed bedpans and administered medicine. She felt forgotten, overlooked, like life was passing her by. But during those quiet hours beside her mother's bed, she discovered a calling she never knew she had. She learned about compassion, patience, and the sacred nature of service. After her mother passed, she used that experience to become a counselor who helps families navigate difficult times. Those 3 years she thought were wasted became the foundation for her life's greatest work. When hope seems gone, faith says, not yet. When circumstances say, impossible, faith says, watch me. When logic says, give up, faith says, hold on. This is your moment to develop the kind of faith that moves mountains, the kind of trust that transforms trials into triumphs. Stop looking at what's missing and start seeing what's possible. Your breakthrough isn't canceled, it's just being prepared. 3. Building strength through sacred solitude. In a world that constantly tells you that you need more people, more connections, more networking, there's a revolutionary truth that most will never discover. Your greatest strength comes from learning to be powerfully alone, not lonely but alone, not isolated but intentionally solitary. There's a difference between being alone because life forced it on you and choosing solitude because you understand its power. Sacred solitude is where you meet the real you. It's where you strip away all the masks, all the pretenses, all the versions of yourself you created to please other people. In the quiet, with no audience to perform for, you discover who you actually are beneath all the roles you play. This isn't about becoming antisocial or avoiding relationships. This is about developing such a strong relationship with yourself and with God that you don't need others to complete you. The what is this? Solitude becomes your laboratory for growth. When you're alone, you can think clearly without the influence of other people's opinions. You can hear your own voice without the noise of everyone else's expectations. You can make decisions based on your values, not on what looks good to others. This is where authentic confidence is born. Not the kind that depends on applause, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin. Why is this kind of strength essential? Because if you can't be alone without being miserable, you'll always be dependent on others for your happiness. You'll make compromises you shouldn't make, stay in situations you should leave, and settle for less than you deserve, all because you're afraid of being alone. But when you develop the ability to be at peace in solitude, you make better decisions in relationships. You attract better people because you're coming from a place of strength, not neediness. How do you build this strength? First, you start spending intentional time alone without any distractions. No books, no music, no activities, just you and your thoughts. Second, you use this time for deep reflection. What are your real dreams? What are your actual values? What brings you genuine joy? Third, you practice being your own best company. Learn to enjoy your own presence. I knew a man who was terrified of being alone. He surrounded himself with people constantly, always accepting every invitation, always saying yes to plans, even when he was exhausted. But all those relationships were shallow because he was performing, not being authentic. One day, circumstances forced him into a period of solitude. At first, he was miserable, but gradually, he began to enjoy the peace. He started reading books he actually wanted to read, pursuing hobbies he actually enjoyed. When he finally emerged from that season, he was a different person. He was more confident, more decisive, more at peace. And interestingly, he attracted better relationships because he was now relating from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. Sacred solitude isn't about avoiding people. It's about becoming so complete in yourself that you can offer your best to others. When you're comfortable being alone, you stop settling for the wrong company. When you enjoy your own presence, others want to be around you too. This is your invitation to embrace the power of solitude, to discover the strength that comes from being at peace with just you and God. 4. Divine purpose in life's darkest valleys. Every person walking this earth will face a valley, a season when nothing makes sense, when pain seems to have no purpose, when you question everything you thought you knew about life and faith. These dark valleys aren't accidents or punishments, they're assignments. They're designed to strip away everything that isn't essential and reveal what truly matters. The question isn't whether you'll face dark times, but whether you'll discover the purpose hidden within them. In the valley, God isn't absent. He's working. Not working to rescue you from the difficulty, but working through the difficulty to develop something in you that can only be formed under pressure. Think of a valley in nature. It's where the richest soil is found, where the most beautiful flowers grow, where the clearest streams flow. Your personal valleys, as painful as they are, become the breeding ground for your greatest growth and your deepest understanding of life. The what is this? Valleys reveal your true character and develop your authentic strength. When life is easy, you don't really know what you're made of. Anyone can be positive when everything is going well. Anyone can have faith when prayers are being answered quickly. But in the valley, when the lights go out and the music stops, that's when you discover what's really inside you. That's when you develop the kind of character that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Why are these dark seasons necessary? Because comfort zones create comfortable people, and comfortable people rarely change the world. The valley breaks you open so that God can fill you with something greater. It strips away your self-reliance so you can discover God-reliance. It removes your false sources of security so you can find true security. Every great leader, every person who made a significant impact has a valley story, not despite their difficulties, but because of them. How do you find purpose in the pain? First, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's this teaching me? Second, you look for ways to serve others even while you're hurting. Often, your greatest ministry comes from your deepest wounds. Third, you trust the process even when you can't see the outcome. The valley has an exit, but you have to walk through it, not around it. I remember a woman who lost her child in a tragic accident. For months, she couldn't understand how a loving God could allow such pain. She was angry, bitter, questioning everything she believed. But slowly, through her grief, she began to notice other parents who were walking through similar tragedies. She started reaching out to them, offering comfort that only someone who had walked that path could give. Over time, she realized that her deepest pain had become her greatest purpose. She now runs a support group that has helped hundreds of grieving parents find hope again. Her valley became her calling. Your valley isn't your destination, it's your preparation. What feels like an ending is actually a beginning. What looks like destruction is actually reconstruction. The same God who allows the valley is the same God who will lead you through it. And when you emerge, you'll be carrying gifts you never knew you had, wisdom you couldn't have gained any other way, and a strength that can only come from walking through darkness and finding light on the other side. 5. Finding peace in God's perfect timing. Time is one of the hardest things to surrender to God. We live in a world that demands instant everything, and when God's timing doesn't match our timeline, we get frustrated, anxious, and sometimes we lose faith altogether. But here's a truth that will revolutionize your life. God's delays are not God's denials. His timing isn't late, it's perfect. And learning to find peace in that timing, even when it doesn't make sense to you, is one of the most liberating discoveries you'll ever make. Perfect timing isn't about getting what you want when you want it. It's about understanding that there's a divine orchestration happening in your life that's far more complex and beautiful than you can see from your limited perspective. What looks like a delay from your viewpoint is actually careful preparation from God's viewpoint. What feels like you're being ignored is actually being protected, developed, and positioned for something greater than you can imagine. The what is this? Surrendering to God's timing transforms anxiety into anticipation. When you truly believe that God's timing is perfect, you stop fighting against the delays and start preparing for the breakthrough. You stop wasting energy on worry and start investing energy in growth. You stop